Hi! It has been a minute since you've seen my face behind the camera or in front of the camera, just doing a regular sit down and chat YouTube video, but we're back. We're making a video on my budget, my breakdown of what I spent in my 2023 wedding. If you're new here, hello, I'm Danielle, and this is First Gen Money. We're a YouTube channel where we talk about personal finance, mental health, lifestyle, things like weddings from a first gen perspective, from my specific perspective. So I'm glad that you're here. Hopefully you enjoy this budget breakdown because we're gonna get into the specific nitty-gritties of how much I spent on this wedding. Before I go into the specific budget breakdown, I kind of wanted to give you an overview of what we're gonna be talking about in today's video. So I'm gonna be sharing kind of what our initial spending plans were, what we decided. We were like, we're gonna put a lot of value into these things, and then I'm gonna share the breakdown. I also have a little special something for you at the end of this video, a resource that helped me throughout the process. Well, actually, I created it in the middle of the process, but I just updated it so that you actually get it at whatever stage in your wedding planning journey you're in. So that's towards the end. And then I'm gonna, answer some questions I got on Instagram from some of you. So if you're not following me there, go to Instagram, First Gen Money, and follow me because that's kind of where I live on the day-to-day. So yeah, let's get into it because it's gonna be a long one. And I will say, just in creating this draft, I realized I have a lot more to say about my wedding experience, about setting boundaries, some of the things I wish I knew before, starting this process, even though I feel like I knew a lot just because of the interviews that I had done on the Amigas Get Money podcast. But this will not be the last kind of wedding money related video that I do. So I hope that you enjoy this series. I'm going to add it to my wedding series playlist on YouTube so that you can just follow along when the other videos come out. So, okay, let's jump into it. So I have my laptop here just because I don't want to miss any of the points, but I wanted to first start with what we had in mind for spending. And I will be super honest and say we thought we could have a wedding for over 100 people for, well, actually I think early in our wedding planning, I was like, I don't want to spend more than $10,000 because I just don't want to spend that much. And I didn't really have an idea of what that guest list, guest count, the size of the wedding was going to be. And that's kind of what I think determines how much you're going to be willing to spend, right? Because if you want to have a smaller, intimate wedding, you can do that for that 10K budget that I had in mind. Of course, you can be super luxurious and have a small wedding, but still have it be expensive. Whatever floats your boat. But I think for us, we were we want to keep costs as low as possible. And then we realized that we wanted to have a bigger guest list than we had in mind. Because once we started doing the numbers of who we definitely wanted to invite to the wedding, we were already at 60 people. And we're just this is immediate family. And we're already at 60 people. How does this happen? We started doing the actual listing of who we wanted and decided, we can't just do a smaller thing because we want to invite our immediate family. So we also knew some of the important things for us in the wedding process that we would want to do. So the first one was, if we were trying to keep our costs low, which at this point we determined 25 is going to be a good budget for us. We know that we might go over that and we'll have the wiggle room, but we're trying to keep it as close to 25 as possible. So we went from 10K to 25. Mind you, I live in New Jersey. During the time I was planning my wedding, we were in Brooklyn, so we were living in Brooklyn. And the average weddings here, I will put a picture of it. I think it's 40K is the average cost of a wedding. So we were we do not want to be over 25. And because of that, we're we'll do all the wedding planning. All the wedding planning we'll do. We don't mind doing it because I am a control person. I like to have my things, and I also feel like I'm very organized, and I like to create spreadsheets for things. I like to keep myself kind of on track that way, where I felt like hiring a wedding planner wasn't really gonna be like, they could do a lot. They could probably get me discounts and stuff, but like I wanted to be part of the process for planning my wedding. Another thing that I knew was really important to us was sustainability and not contributing to a culture of consumption. So, you know, I think when you're in the wedding planning phase of your life, you get a lot of those reels that are targeted, like your algorithm is 100% like weddings. And it's easy to be like, oh my God, I want to do this. I want to do that. I have this idea. I want that. And I was just like, no, we are going to make sure that what we do is think about sustainability, buy secondhand as much as possible, and think about how we can just ensure that we are not making the planet that much worse off because of our wedding. And to be honest, there were still a lot of things that like were part of like that we had to do. Like we and I'll go into it once I share like the specific budget stuff, but we got a lot of stuff from Facebook Marketplace, but some items like our candles we had to buy new. And now I'm trying to resell them, but that's another thing. And then the third thing that I think was big for us is we didn't want our wedding to be a financial burden for anybody else. We knew that weddings are expensive. You know, we see the statistics all the time from bachelorettes, from bridal showers, like all that stuff. We knew that weddings were expensive. And to be honest, like my parents were not in a position to be like, we're going to pay for your wedding. So I knew like I wasn't going to try to burden them with, okay, you have, I need a contribution to my, like that just wasn't an option. I think a lot of you all can relate as a first gen, like my parents have other financial responsibilities, and so do Ari's parents. And so for us, it was really important to be able to afford and pay for our wedding ourselves, because we didn't want to put the financial burden on our parents or our guests really. And I think that plays into like some of the decisions that we made, which I'll kind of go through when I share more about our venue cost. So the kind of what we wanted to do versus what we valued is kind of a different thing for us, because what we wanted to do was like throughout the wedding process, what we valued is like, what did we value about the actual wedding experience? And through a lot of conversations that I had with different brides for the Amigas Get Money podcast series, where I highlighted different weddings and different price points, I learned, just like with regular life, with regular budgeting, where you spend your money is a demonstration of like what you value, right? So obviously you're gonna spend more money on the things that you care most about. So it was important for us to kind of understand, where are we okay putting the money? Where are we okay spending the most amount of money? So I think it helped us understand like what we wanted to do. And one of the things that we wanted for sure, what we valued, was the location of our wedding. We wanted to get married in upstate New York. We wanted to get married in the Catskills, right? Like that was like way up there. We definitely looked at venues in New Jersey, but New Jersey just wasn't the vibe, right? We were willing to like make those trips and to, you know, do a wedding in a different area. Whereas I think if we would have stayed in New Jersey, number one, it would have cost more, but it also would have saved us money in some aspects. Like we probably wouldn't have needed a hotel room. I mean, maybe just for me, but like certain things like that, like where it's like, okay, 30 minutes versus a 2-hour drive is a more like doable thing. You have people in your network here that you can tap into. So I think location was one of the things that we really much valued. I think the second thing I would say, like after location, was the experience we wanted to give our guests. The experience in terms of like being able to not feel like it's costing so much, or, you know, you're having a good time, the food is good, kind of like that experience, the entertainment we put under that. And then the third thing was like, I really want video, right? So I really want video. I really want to be able to look at the photos and all that stuff. And like, those were the big things that were like, we really want to ensure that we have a good experience here with the things that we value. Okay, so now I'm gonna kind of share my screen and show you the exact budget breakdown. Are you shocked? Okay, so this is my spreadsheet that I created to keep track of how much we're spending. So the overall spending was $38,000 and $130. Way over budget? Way over budget. But once we go through each thing, you'll kind of see how we did things a little differently. And okay, so here's the first thing. So the first thing you'll see is parents' contribution. So we said we didn't want to ask our parents for help, but they still wanted to contribute. And that is something that they did in like not giving us the direct money, but saying like, we're gonna cover X, Y, and Z. So when we go through the spending breakdown, you'll see exactly where the parent contributions went, because they weren't just like giving us that cash to spend however we wanted towards the wedding. They wanted to purchase and pay for specific things. And I shouldn't say estimated, but I should say final cost. Our final cost was $32,000, 176 from our pockets, right? From our pockets. So what is the spending overview? Before we go into the breakdown, where did we spend the most amount of money? Venue is the biggest one. And the venue includes the venue, the food, like everything associated to like having the wedding there, the ceremony, all of that stuff. I wanted to kind of show you the specifics of how this was calculated, right? So invoice total was the 20K. The amount that was due like the day of our wedding was the 15, because we had already paid a deposit. But the biggest items here, I think, to point out is, okay, so we had a minimum of 120, which we knew we were gonna hit it. This is the 10K was for the food, for the 21 plus. The next big thing, 3K was the open bar. So this is where 3K plus the 200, this is where we had a parent contribution amount, right? So we had parents say, we want to contribute to the open bar experience. And so that was not something we were gonna do. We weren't gonna have additional open bar because the venue already offered 3 hours of open bar, and we're like, we're not gonna have additional open bar because it's not in our budget. But our parents said, we wanna contribute to the open bar, and therefore we had 2 extra hours of open bar. And that is why we had that extra $3,300 expense there. And then for our after party, we said, you know, that's when people will pay for their own drinks. So what else was a big category here? That was comped, so we actually did not pay for that after party extended option. 900, okay. Cake and dessert. So we had ordered the cake through the venue, and that was an extra cost, right? That was an extra cost per person. And so our cake was like we didn't really have a cake. We had pies. I'm already forgetting my own wedding. We had pies. And so for the cost of the pies that they had to make, $965. We also wanted donuts because, you know, it's fall wedding, October 29th, fall wedding. We wanted to have like the apple cider donuts. So that was an extra $155. That was a sticker shock. I was like, $1,000 for dessert? Would have been cheaper if I got a cake locally and just paid the $200 fee for having an external cake person. But it was kind of like thinking through, okay, but then I have to get the cake from this Pretty Pleased Cakes, Best Cakes, from Asbury Park all the way to upstate New York, the weekend of my wedding. Where am I gonna store it? Because I don't get like all of these things that I was like, let's just do the pies with our venue. So just the night of our wedding was $17,000, almost $18,000. Or no, it was 17, because if you look at all the things they comped, it was $17,000 and 182. Now, there is a Monday expense. This was completely optional. We had overnight guests, obviously. We were in upstate New York, so our venue provided accommodations that people pay for themselves, and those accommodations were expensive. They were expensive. Like, some of the rooms were cheap because you had to share a bathroom and all that stuff, but some of the accommodations were pricey. And I just felt, I don't know, I felt like we should be covering the breakfast for our guests because they made the trip, you know, they came out here. Like, there's no reason they should be paying $25 or how much is it? $22 for their breakfast per person because they had to stay where I picked out for them. So after talking with Ari, and because one of our values was the experience of our guests, really kind of reducing that cost to them, we decided we would pay for the morning farewell breakfast. So that was a total of $3,000. $3,000 right there. So just to give you kind of a breakdown of what an invoice from a venue might look like, this is what it looked like at ours. And in talking to my mom kind of after the fact, because some of the things that we didn't do, like a champagne toast, I was saying before my camera heated up, champagne toast. We opted for no champagne toast. So here's a line item for a champagne toast, and it's 00 because we did not opt for that. It was like $8 per person. We just felt like it wasn't necessary. When sharing this with my mom, because 2 weeks later, you know, she texted me and she was like, wait, I just remembered there was no champagne to toast when people were talking. And I was like, because we opted for no champagne toast. And she was like, that's so strange. You know, your sister's venue was all inclusive of all of those things. So I'll save this for my 10 things I wish I knew before wedding planning, but just wanted to share that this might be just a very unique invoice. The second, we have miscellaneous tips, gifts, and invitations. So let's look at that. How do I filter this? Okay, here we go. Miscellaneous. Okay, invitations, $92 because that included the stamps as well as the templates to use the specific design that we went with from a designer in Brooklyn. She had done a invitation for our venue and it included the map of our venue. So I was like, I want to purchase this for you. She did that as a commission for a specific couple, but she was willing to give me and sell me the template. So that's why we had that. Otherwise, invitations would have just been the stamps because our friend was so kind in that he did our entire invitations. His family has a paper company. I still till this day, I'm not sure how to explain it, but I think they are a paper supply company. But anyway, he has access to like all of these beautiful like cards and stuff. So he made our invitations based on the templates that, you know, we got from the designer. Our bridesmaids gifts. So I didn't have a bridal party. I shared that in the last vlog that I did of our wedding week, but I did have, and I shouldn't say bridesmaids because I didn't have bridesmaids, but it's gifts for the people who had a part in our wedding day. Don't want my little sisters to see this and be upset why they didn't get a gift, but it was actually just for the people who had a role to play the day of the wedding. So that's what that is. I got them jewelry. I decided to go fine jewelry, estate jewelry. So that's a bit on the pricey side, obviously. I didn't want to skimp out on just, I don't know. Like I could have just done something cheaper. That would have been fine. They would have appreciated it. But I wanted something that would last. I wanted to, I don't know. I wanted to get a small detail that was something that I would want to receive. So that's why that price is there. Then we have the tips. We also have dog boarding here. I also have bachelorette stuff here from August, because that's still part of the wedding cost, right? Yeah, I gifted some cups for my bachelorette. I think this is from the last farewell breakfast that we did, the bachelorette. For the bachelorette, I wanted to treat everybody, just say thank you for coming to upstate, because that's where I had my bachelorette. And then I bought Ari and I sweaters with our last name, our combined last name. So that's what miscellaneous was. After miscellaneous was entertainment. Entertainment, let's see. Okay, actually, you know what? I'm gonna keep entertainment not filtered because it gives out specific prices for our vendors. And you know what, and you'll probably see them because I can see the price right now on my screen, but included our DJ and MC, which was incredible. And he was Ecuadorian. So I was so happy when I found that out. I was like, ah! And I needed somebody to like bring in the Latino to the party, right? Like you were not gonna have like music my family couldn't dance to, right? So I'm glad we found him. Thank you to Facebook groups for pitching him and suggesting him as a DJ, because he was great. It also included the string string trio is three individuals who did our ceremony music. So my mom wanted us to have a quartet, and I was like, we don't need four, it's more money, so let's just do a trio. And we found the string girls, and my mom paid for that. So that was the specific ceremony music was a parent contribution thing. Decor, that was the fourth category. Let's see. Let's break it down. That included a bunch of stuff from Facebook Marketplace. So you see the candle holders. We got 64 candles and candle holders from Facebook Marketplace. And then we had to order candles that we wanted because the ones that we received were not all, they just weren't all in the condition to be like relit. So we had to order candles again, and only 40 because we could save some of them. We bought vases, a bar sign. That was like one of the new things that we bought, to have a picture of our dogs kind of in the bar present. You know, we had to board my dog and Ari's dog, stayed here, but somebody had to watch him. So we wanted to like have their presence there because they mean a lot to us. And then I bought 3 more vases at the thrift store. And then this floral setup stuff is also a parent contribution, right? So this $16.75 is for our huppah, which is a traditional Jewish wedding thing. And that was a parent contribution as well. We were gonna have Ari just like set it up the day of, kind of keep it minimal, because we wanted to save that money for, you know, we just didn't want to have that additional cost. We know that huppahs can be expensive when you have a florist come in. So we had a parent contribution for this because they really wanted to feel like their like religion and the aspect of, okay, 2 different religions merging for, you know, marriage is something special and celebrated, and they weren't able to do that for their wedding, so they wanted to pay for it for ours. And so that is why we had that almost $1,700 there. And then the floral setup, I think I mentioned in my vlog that we decided last minute that maybe it wasn't best for us to arrange the florals on the tables, and instead kind of asked our florist if she could do it the day of. And so that was $363 just for the setup. Then we bought flowers from a local florist around here, and then Trader Joe's just to have extra ones for our flower girls and for the aisle. So that is decor and flowers, I guess it should be. Next is, okay, I'm not gonna show you that one. Next is our photo and video. So $2,800. That's like, oh my God, it sounds so cheap. Yeah. Because number one, photographer, a friend of ours, she gave us a friend discount, which is why I'm not going to show the pricing, because she doesn't charge this normally for a wedding, but she left us a really good deal. And she said, I've been doing your engagement photos, like I did your court wedding photos. So she gave us a good deal. And then the videographer, we asked for the best rate that he could possibly give us. And he said, this is the lowest that I can do. And he really also gave us a big discount. So I'm not gonna like share the prices. You can see what I paid for both, but yeah, those are just not their regular prices. So I feel weird sharing that, but that's one thing that we did a lot. We negotiated, we asked for what the best rate could be. And because of our date, October 29th, our videographer was like, you know, it's end of season, so I'm gonna do it this time. So next category is attire and accessories. Let us look at that breakdown. Attire and accessories. Okay, so Ari rented his tuxedo. That was actually, we need to update that because he got a discount. He ended up getting a discount because I think more people rented out tuxes, so they gave the groom a discount for that. So I have to update that. It might be less, but he initially had paid the $232 until they refunded him for the discount. My wedding dress, I found my wedding dress in July at a thrift store with my husband, with Ari, and that was $80. $80 for my dress. I'll be doing a whole separate thing on the wedding dress situation, but to get it dry cleaned was $85. That's because I went to the West Village. No, wait, was I in the, yes. No, I didn't go to the, I was in, Tribeca? Where the fuck was I? Anyway, I was in Manhattan, and so the prices were wild. I was shocked when she said 85. I said, oh, my dress cost $80. Anyway, I had a dress cover. I'll put a picture of myself and my dress so you can see that I had a cover made for me. That was $290. And my wedding band was the more expensive one. So I got, I don't know if you can see it. That's my wedding band. I got this at an estate, it's estate jewelry. I got it at Jeweler here in Jersey because I wanted, again, the sustainability aspect to it. And I think you can see that in the wedding dress is that it was a used dress. It was a thrifted dress. The cover was new fabric and all that stuff. So that wasn't, you know, reused. The jewelry, I wanted to ensure that I got something that had been pre-owned. And then Ari got his wedding band. And then my alterations for my dress were $300. Yes, like 3 times the price of the cost of my wedding, but you should have seen how this dress fit me when I bought it. It was like tight. I was stressing out. I was like, how am I gonna, like, why do I need to make my body like fit this dress? It was like really a stressful process, which is why I feel like the wedding dress needs its whole video. But the alterations were actually very competitive price because I went to Brooklyn by me to try to get a quote for my dress. And they quoted me over $900. And I said, you are so good on that. I'm going to New Jersey. So I came here and I got it altered where my sister found her wedding dress 7 years ago. So, or 5 years ago. I don't know how long she's been married for. So yeah, that is attire and accessories. My mom actually bought my earrings that I wore on my wedding day as a gift. And I used my sister's veil from her wedding 6 years ago. So that was that. I also did not put my shoes in there. Interesting. I did buy shoes, so that is an additional $300. And then the other category was accommodations. Okay, so accommodations $1,400. That is inclusive of my room and a few other rooms that I paid for because, like I said, again, these rooms were pricey and I knew certain family members weren't going to be able to afford to buy their or pay for their own room. So I said, you know what, I don't want you to have to like pay for it, so let me cover your room. So this is the cost of my room and I think 3 more, so 4 rooms at the resort. And then lastly, hair and makeup. I am not gonna show the specific prices because again, those are specific vendors and I don't wanna like reveal their price points. But yeah, this included my makeup and my hair, the trials, the tip. And yeah, what I do here differently, nothing. These prices, honestly, now that I'm seeing other people's on the Facebook groups I'm a part of, I'm like, okay, I paid what is like standard, I think, for what you would pay for hair and makeup for your wedding. So yeah, that is my cost breakdown. That is how much I spent for my wedding, and just so you can kind of gauge at what costs go into it. So let's get into some of the things that we did differently that I didn't already cover. So for the wedding specific, we really wanted to get married upstate. We really wanted to get married in the Catskills. And I came across our venue by reaching out to a YMCA in the area. And they were like, we don't do weddings, but this place down the street does. Go check them out. And I was like, okay. I messaged them immediately. And then the next day I had a phone call. And then like after that, I like went to go see it. And I was just like, Ari and I went to go see it. And we were like, this is the place we're going to get married. And we, from the beginning of our wedding process, we're like, we want to do a overnight. We want to do like a camp feel. We want to do a weekend celebration. And we came down that cloud immediately because we realized a whole weekend at any venue, but also at the venue we chose, was going to be a lot of money, not just for us, but for our guests. So we decided one night, one overnight is best for our budget, is best for our guest budget. So that was something that we made the decision. For. I think, you know, we really would have loved a whole weekend celebration, but realistically, it was going to be more money. Another thing that we did differently was we got married on a Sunday. So, you know, those weeknights, it's a weekend, but it's still like a school night for many people. And I know a lot of our guests had to take time off on Monday to be there, but we figured, let's make it very clear that we understand if you can't come because of work and other obligations. But for us, it made sense to get married on a Sunday. And something that was specific to our venue was the week before our wedding was available as well. So that would have been October 22nd. So that date was available, but our date was $20 cheaper per person. So we said, listen, might be colder. It might not have any foliage, but it is just so much cheaper when you think about the guest list that we wanted to have, that it just made sense to go with Sunday later in October. As you already know, it rained on our wedding day, but what I learned is that it has rained for every Romo LaRue's wedding. And by that, I mean my parents' wedding day was raining. My sister's wedding day was raining. Now my wedding day, it has rained. So I think it's kind of like a thing that just happened. So good luck to my little sisters. You're all gonna have rain. It is good luck, actually. And then, yeah, so that's kind of like why we decided that venue and all that stuff. I think another thing that we did differently was we didn't do save the dates. Even though our friend could do like the save the dates and cover that for us, it was just a different additional postage, additional like waste. Like, what do people do? Like, they get save the dates and they get invitations. Like, you're not going to keep both of them. So no save the dates, save the environment, save yourself money. We didn't do any other like wedding related festivities. Yes, we had a bachelor party, a bachelorette, but we kept those low key. Like my friend hosted us at her house for my bachelorette. And there wasn't really like many activities that cost money when she planned that. So kept those low key. I didn't have a bridal shower. Yeah. I think the estate jewelry, had I known earlier, like how amazing estate jewelry is, because there's some awesome, like vintage, especially vintage jewelry in the city. I mean, they're very expensive, but I'm like, wow, there are a lot of things here, and you're just buying something pre-owned. So I think that just at least doing that for my band was important to me, and I'm glad that we did that. In terms of the wedding, our aesthetic was pretty simple. So we kept minimal signs. We obviously had like the table signs, but we had frames from Ari's stepsister's bat mitzvah 20 years ago at this point, or 15 years ago, that Ari's mom had in the basement. So we used those. We just had that bar sign. We didn't really have like many signs around. There were no party favors. We didn't do party favors. We opted for no party favors. I feel like those go to waste anyway if it's not something practical. We didn't do any extra entertainment stuff. We just said DJ, MC, that's it. People are gonna be dancing. I wanted to do like hora loca and stuff like that, but then I realized, you know, buying those like single use like hats and fun things that people use, just like, it would have been just not sustainable, and it didn't really align with like our values. So we chose to just do basic entertainment. We didn't have officiants because we were already married. We didn't need that. All right, so that is that. Now let's move over to questions that I got. So, did you create a sinking fund that you both contributed to for this wedding? Yes, we did have a wedding sinking fund. We had it in our separate accounts, but we both contributed our amounts to it. So we didn't actually get a joint account until closer to the wedding, once we were already married. So that's something that maybe we did differently. I probably would have been okay having a joint account earlier. We just like didn't get around to it till like after our court wedding. In terms of both contributing to it, yes, we both had our own sinking funds. I think because Ari decided to leave his job for a lot of reasons in April, he kind of had to use his what he had saved for the wedding to just pay for living expenses. And that's something that like I understood, I was okay with. I'd rather him, you know, be able to use that to live instead of, you know, put it towards our contribution. So I contributed a little more to our wedding. Yes, sinking fund, we had it. We had started saving as soon as we got engaged to that sinking fund. And I think, okay, and this goes on to how did you know how much to save? So for us to really know how much we needed to save, we needed to understand what kind of wedding we were having, right? And getting quotes from different places to understand like what it would be. So we did our research on like what the average cost of a wedding would be. We realized that we would need to save about 30K just to feel comfortable, like, cause we were trying to stay at 25, right? We were trying to stay at 25. And so we were like 30K, let's have that saved. And I think we just saved like throughout the year, but also some expenses we just paid with like our paycheck that day. So like, for instance, I think when we first saw when we first saw the venue, we had to give a 500 kind of binding fee just to like hold your spot. And that was just taken from like what we had in our checking account. So it wasn't really money that came out of a sinking fund. And then after that, when we gave our first deposit, again, it was just like money that we had in our checking account. So it wasn't something that we had to take out from the sinking fund. But when it came to that last like 15K, that was the money that we had like, because of the sinking fund contributions, already had in a bank account. But yes, so how did we know how much to save? Understand what the average cost of a wedding in your area is going to be. Understand how many people you want, just to get an idea of like, okay, what size of wedding am I thinking about having? And once you inquire about quotes, you kind of can gauge how much you might need. I had been receiving quotes from venues 2 years before we got engaged because I knew I wanted to get married upstate. I knew I wanted to have a Catskill wedding, and I was like, how much are these venues? So that kind of gave me an idea of how much we needed to have in our bank account. Did you have a wedding planner? If no, what resources can you share for self-planners? I did not have a wedding planner. I we DIY'd it, right? Because we knew wedding planners extra. And I know for the Amigas Get Money podcast, I interviewed Annalisa Cantu, and she decided that she did want a wedding planner because she didn't want to plan all the details and didn't want to have to worry about that, especially knowing that her husband's schedule was different and wouldn't allow for time to participate in the wedding planning process. So she didn't want to be resentful and therefore hired a planner so that they wouldn't have to like both or one person be super invested in it. Ari and I were both very much in the wedding planning process. If I had done all of the wedding planning myself, I think I would have been more overwhelmed, more stressed, angry, like I would have been like, so I think your partner needs to be a partner in this process in order for you not to get overwhelmed in the wedding planning. Self-planners, I used a lot of free resources like YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Jamie Wolfer is a YouTuber that I follow that is a wedding planner as well. And she has so many resources. She was like the only person that Ari and I were like watching YouTube videos, learning how to do things. So check her out. I will link her down in the description. I also made a spreadsheet for myself. As I said, I like to keep myself very organized. So I had a spreadsheet for what we needed. I had all of that stuff that I took from like a lot of different places on Google. Somebody asked, how do you budget? How much budget is good for 25 people? Can't tell you specifics. You can want to do a whole luxury wedding for 25 people where you fly people out and that's going to be different. You can have something in your backyard for 25 people. So at the end of the day, nobody can tell you what the best budget for you is. You need to make that decision about what you can spend, about what your guest list is. Like nobody can tell you. It's really based on your specific situation, right? And then I think as we get closer to the end, I wanted to share the spreadsheet that I made for you all. Because yes, I showed you my spreadsheet, but I also thought, you know what? Let's create a version of this that I can share with people. So let me share my screen again and show you the free resource I have for you. Okay. Da-da-da! This is the spreadsheet I made. I just took a copy of mine and made it so that it's more, it just like talks about more of the things that I shared in this video. So anyway, let's walk you through it. First, ask yourself these questions, right? Sit with your partner and kind of think about your top values, your myths, the things you don't really care about, your non-negotiables, your things you're willing to negotiate on, what are some goals you're putting on hold? Because I think it's important to like really understand what are we saying no to by saying yes to having a wedding. There are trade-offs, so understand that and write them down for yourself. Are you okay with that? So really sitting with it. And then how are you feeling about money? Weddings, baby. Weddings mean you and your partner have to talk about money. Things come up. Like I said, the year we got married, my lovely husband decided to quit his job. I feel a lot of ways about that. Looking back, and I think he does too. He wishes he didn't quit his job. And that's fine. But like we had to talk about all these things. You have to talk about money. You have to be transparent. Like when he quit his job, we talked about him quitting his job. We said, okay, like, are we going to be fine? Are we going to be fine? And then, I got laid off too. So that was another little icing on top that we had to deal with. But feelings come up. Like weddings bring up a lot of emotions. And so you want to make sure you and your partner talk about all the things money. Already get uncomfortable, share all that stuff. So that's a big one there that you really should think about. Budget and spending. So this looks just like what I shared with you, except I made it prettier for you. I have the budget corner, right? So projected costs that you have for things and then actually what you are spending on them. I have the categories, which you can customize in this first tab. You can change them to make them whatever you want, but I say don't make more than 8. You don't want it to be like too complicated. And then just put down how much you're spending. I put these here just to give you kind of a template. Some breakdown charts, projected, actual, right? So use this. I also have an example of the schedule that I created for our wedding day. you can delete this if it's not useful, but I figured just have an idea of like what it looks like on the wedding day. Our wedding ceremony started at 4 and our actual reception started at 6. So this is kind of our schedule based on our day. Shot list, I gave our photographer a shot list that I found online. I put in a spreadsheet. And then the VIPs is a place where you put headshots of your family. So let me show you my actual document. So this is what I shared with everybody. I shared this with everybody, and I think, you know, you're gonna wanna separate your budget from all this stuff when you share it out, unless, you know, you don't care if people see that. But yeah, I gave her inspiration of photos specific to my venue, the very important people, so she knew who, you know, we were gonna be taking pictures of. The shot list, I have, this is me. I have literally like Canva'd the map, hair and makeup schedule, the day of schedule, some notes for people. So that's what I did for our wedding. And so I kind of just made one for you. Hopefully you find that helpful. That's gonna be available in the description. But yeah, that was the cost of my wedding. I am gonna do a whole nother video and maybe 3 more, because there's just so much, so many like things I would have done differently, how to set boundaries when it comes to all the stuff with weddings, because, you know, we had a lot of headaches. So I want to share that. But yeah, that is it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you don't come at me with my over budget for this wedding. But if you do, I don't really care. So let me know in the comments if you have specific questions that you want me to answer in the next video. Yeah, that is all for today. I'll see you all next week.